through the draft. The Pirates called.
The wild moments and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game. And away we go for episode number 19 of Minor League Weekly on the Minor League Minute YouTube channel. And we are also Minor League Weekly on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you don't catch us in a live capacity. It is only fitting that we come to you on the universal off day for Minor League Baseball to debrief everything that's happened the week before today. I am Cory Sparks, joined here by Sedric Granger to start. Sedric, how are you?
Yeah, doing well. It's that point of the year where the newness factor is starting to die down from minor league baseball and major league baseball, and we're starting to kind of settle in to a nice groove. It's feeling good.
And then Jacob Smedley joins us as well. Three-man show. Jacob, how are you, man?
Doing good. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of just even sports, taking it out to sports. You've got, of course, baseball. You've got playoffs on the way for some winter sports. So yeah, it's a great time, a spring equinox of sports, if you will. Super excited about that.
It kind of is. And so, Jacob, you and I are in PA right now. Sedric, you're not far from us. The buzz around here is that Philly could go 4 for 4 in terms of getting teams into the playoffs. The Flyers have been holding up their end of the bargain lately. And the Phillies are currently battering my Cubs 8-2, about halfway home. So I'm going to turn 9-2. Nice. I'm going to turn the notifications off for that as we get the episode underway. I was joking before, like, whoever wins this can just have my fandom because I live here now. So we'll make that the stakes. Best of 3. Lot to cover for you guys today. We're going to power rank the rookie class. Sedric and Jacob came to you guys a couple of weeks ago, and we're talking about just the amazing performances, the fireworks that we saw at the start of the season. As the newness does start to wind down, it's becoming very clear these are not fluke starts. Like, the numbers are still good. This rookie class looks phenomenal. Everyone looks confident for the most part. So we're going to give you our top 3. I'll give you one, Sedric will give you one, Jacob will give you one. Risers and fallers as per usual here on this Monday. And then a new-ish segment. We'll kind of factor this in and out. Pitchers who shove, specifically in minor league baseball, who is dialed in. If we're talking about the minors, which we are today, likely a start or 2 in. Closers are not off limits as well, so maybe a handful of appearances, saves leaders, crazy K/9s. We're going to dive into it all today. And we'll wrap up today's episode with a special edition of Fair or Foul, dedicated to one-tool players. Chandler Simpson is drumming up a conversation that we're excited to have for you today. I guess we'll kick off with our power rankings, right? And it's basically going to go 1 through 3 in any order between the 3 of us. This is a stacked class. I just said it a moment ago. I'll kick us off with who I believe is going to have the best season of any rookie. And it's not Connor Griffin. He's 19. I think there's going to be a learning curve there personally. I'm going Carter Jensen. Now, obviously, had the weird alarm clock situation happen earlier this season. But the skill set is there. I believe he's fixed that issue. And the numbers are following. He has just a .238 batting average for the moment, but his barrel percentage on his Baseball Savant page is sky high at 19%. It's one of the best rates you'll find, regardless of if you're a rookie or a 15-year veteran. Hard hit rate is well above average. And what do I like the most? His bat speed is in the top 20 percentile. There's definitely a few issues with strikeout rate and whiff rate, but there's really only a handful of rookies who come up and don't struggle with those strikeout numbers early on. On the defensive end, I want to give him his flowers there too. His framing is some of the highest rated stuff in the majors at this moment, and that's still very important. Yes, we're in an ABS era now, but if you can steal enough calls to the point where you have the opposing team, I guess the opposing batter in this point, challenging and burning through those challenges by the end of the game, you get a couple wrong and you're done. So I do think there's still a lot of value to the art of framing, and Carter Jensen is one of the best at it. Overall, I love the poise. I love the power. I think this guy's in the right environment. You have veterans playing the same position like Salvador Perez there to teach him the ropes. Other up-and-comers like Jack Caglione, who are going through the peaks and valleys of being a newcomer in this league, who can ride that wave with Carter Jensen and relate to him. And then you have guys who have been there recently, like Vinny Pasquantino, who's quickly established himself as one of the best sluggers in the game right now, as a corner infielder nonetheless. So I bought the Carter Jensen stock coming into the season. The alarm clock thing was obviously a little weird, boys, but the slug is there. We saw him show us a glimpse of what he's capable of down the stretch last season. And I think out of our entire rookie class, personally, I believe he comes out with the best numbers, AL or NL at this point.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that's an on time take. No jokes, no laughs. Anyone? No, too soon. I think he's really responded to tomatoes. The tomatoes are getting thrown here. I think that he's really responded well to that incident. I mean, just to kind of point later, he had a few home runs in the Guardians series, kind of coming after that. In that lineup, you've got a few other guys like Jack Caglione, like Vinny Pasquantino, Salvi Perez, Bobby Witt Jr., one of the best players in the game. So, I mean, he's really acquitted himself nicely. So, yeah, I'm super excited to see if those stats continue the rest of the season.
And way to buy stock early as well too. That's something we've kind of been talking between the three of us all throughout the day is whenever there's rookies and maybe things aren't showing up early, you might be like, okay, that's kind of bad, but you don't pay the alarm bells. You continue to see how they develop. And, when people see, alarm clock not being in on time, those are some of the things where I think as fans, we sometimes take for granted how often these players are on time and how strict everything is to reach flights, to get to the facilities at the right time. But overall, it's been a really impressive start for Jensen. I can see why you picked him, but I think Jacob and I might have some other ideas for who we have at the top of our list.
Yeah, I'll go right there for my player. Sedric and I mentioned him as you talked about Cory a few weeks ago. Chase DeLauder, the outfielder for the Cleveland Guardians, breaking records. Sedric brought it up on the show, matched Trevor Story's number of home runs in his first 3 games with 4. I'll just continue to add. They'll look at the baseball savant page. It's like looking at a Coca-Cola can, fellas. It's all red everywhere. 95th percentile in barrel rate, 96th percentile in squared up percentage, 97th in expected slugging. So when it's hitting his bat, it's flying, it's going everywhere. Even more impressive, he's doing it on stuff with movement. Highest run value is on sliders and sinkers. Pitches with movement coming out of the pitcher's hand and with high velocity as well with a lot of these pitchers in the league. So those are types of numbers that you see from Juan Soto, Vlad Guerrero, Shohei Ohtani, Carter Jensen, apparently as well, with the barrel numbers at the top of the league. So I think this is so huge with this Guardians lineup. He's been batting second. He's been batting fifth. He's been doing it great against lefties too. I think that's also, you mentioned something that rookies have some trouble with is maybe the same side, whether it's righties against righties, lefties against lefties. DeLauder's batting over 330 against left-handed pitching so far with 3 doubles. So it's not just even though he's off tonight against the Cardinals with the lefty on the mound, he is thriving in that left-on-left matchup. I think the main thing for him, the biggest issue, you talk about Jensen with his defense behind the plate, it's DeLauder's defense in the outfield. He's been in right field a few times. He's been DHing a little bit as well. I think it might be one of those Juan Soto type of situations where the bat is just so good. You stick it in right field. You live with the potential misplays. You live with the, maybe a single turns into a double with him in right field. I think that'll come though. You have this type of bat. I think it's going to last. I think this Guardians offense, you add that at the top, or maybe they were batting him fifth, kind of bringing another wave after that first 4 hitters. So yeah, super excited to see what Chase DeLauder continues to do this season.
It's tough for me to refute that when you look at the immediate results he's had, right? Like I can sit here all day and tell you that Carter Jensen's advanced analytics says batting average is going to come up, the on-base percentage is going to come up, and the slugging and OPS will pull on through with it. Chase DeLauder's doing that right now. And the one note I have on him as well, I think there's benefit to the situation he was in last year. He didn't just debut down the stretch when the roster was expanded. He got baptism by fire. He was in the playoffs with this team, fighting for their lives, fighting in that AL Central battle that came down to the wire in terms of who was going to have what seating and home field advantage. Chase DeLauder was in the thick of that. And That's not to reduce the importance of every regular season game, because these races do come down to a game or two. But you put a kid in that scenario and then wrap around the calendar year and say, all right, here's April baseball. I think the game's slowing down for him a little bit. Like you said, Jacob, there have been a couple struggles in the outfield, but you live with that if he's slugging the way he has been so far.
Yeah, Jacob, there's a couple things I really liked about your statement. First, that Coca-Cola reference, read all over that, was amazing. And I can finally laugh because my girlfriend does not work for Pepsi anymore, so I can finally appreciate a good Coca-Cola joke. Second, Chase the Lauder, or as I like to say, Chase the Slaughter, the baseball. He has been really dominant to start. And I think really having that first impression from the get-go, leading the Guardians through what was a really tough road stretch. If you told Guardians fans that they were going to finish above 500 with a 7-game road trip to begin the year in Seattle and against the Los Angeles Dodgers, I think every Guardians fan would have taken that easily, and they did a really good job navigating that, and a big reason was because of Chase. But I'm going to stay in the Buckeye State for my prospect. I'm going to go with Sal Stewart, and if you're going to select Sal Stewart as your top rookie, you have to take a look at what the entire team is doing and what he means to the Cincinnati Reds. Right now, among qualified players for Cincinnati, only 4 of them are batting above the Mendoza line. So it's really been feast or famine, where the top guys, which has been Elly De La Cruz and really Sal Stewart, a little mix of Eugenio Suarez and Matt McClain. Also in there, Nathaniel Lowe kind of coming up as well too, but he hasn't played in enough games yet to be qualified in that bunch. Really, it's been struggles for the rest of guys. You know, they had some sign-ins like Brian Hayes that was supposed to be a little bit better, but things have just not clicked for him. He's batting 079 right now. TJ Friedel hasn't been good. He's been batting around 150. Noel V. Marte just got sent down to AAA today, and they're going to give Rhys Hines another opportunity. So it really has been a struggle. But in terms of where the Reds sit in the standings right now, they are 9-7, where if you put them in the American League, they'd be first in the conference. But the National League is a jungle right now, so it's going to be a bit more of a grind. But they're still up top, just behind the Pirates in the NL Central right now. And it's really because of what Sal Stewart has done. We take a look at what made him so great in the minors. This is a guy that walks as much as he strikes out. Well, we wondered back during our Reds farm feature, was that going to translate to the major leagues? So far through 16 games, it has 13 walks to just 10 strikeouts so far for Sal Stewart. And not only is he doing that, he's also putting barrel on the ball throughout this season. He's the lone Reds batter that's been batting over 300 this season, has an OPS of over 1,000. He has 4 home runs, 10 RBI, sitting at 9th right now in MLB in OPS. So it's just been a really good year. And then I'll add this as the last point for why Sal Stewart's so important to the Reds. If you were to take him out of this offense, I don't think this team is anywhere close to 9-7. This is a Cincinnati Reds bunch that has excelled in close games. They are 3-0 in one-run games, and they are 2-0 in extra inning games. So these are games where the margin of error is very slim. That's the difference between being 9-7 right now or being as low as 6-10 or even 5-11. And if you did not have Sal Stewart's production, I feel that with the way the rest of the lineup has really been slumping outside of Elly De La Cruz for the most part, this would not be as competitive as a Reds team as it is now. So if it comes down to which guy do you think right now means the most to his team, it's hard to argue against Sal Stewart and what he means to the Reds so far this season.
That's a great deep dive, man, because you look at the fact that, I mean, great pull on 4 players who are qualified hitters, at least, hitting above the Mendoza line. Think about what that does for scouting. It's not like he's protected right now. Teams that they're going up against, good baseball teams, by the way, they're worried about Sal Stewart. They're not as worried about the rest of that lineup because they've been struggling so mightily. So here's this rookie with all the pressure in the world on his shoulders. The Central looks to be ultra competitive again. Absurd stat, by the way, with the American League literally being that conjoined that 9-7 would be at the mountaintop right now. It's a zoo over there in the best way. But I think with Sal Stewart, now we can do the fun part of this, I guess, where we list all the other rookies that we didn't even talk about who are remarkable too. Like, there's McGonigal, there's Connor Griffin, there's J.J. Weatherholt. Justin Crawford's top 10 in the league in average right now. Like, there's so many different options. But Sal Stewart, to your point, has been so important to this team that without him in there, they probably are 3, 4, 5 games worse than they are at this point already.
That's a good point. I think that's really the main thing that you can hang your hat on if you're South Stewart. But then again, the good part about this debate is that, first of all, we're only 16 games in out of 161 games or 162 games. So there's still plenty of time for different guys to rise up. We have guys that are still right now in AAA that very well could steal the show coming up soon. We might talk about some of those guys on our Riser segment. And then you got guys that kind of come out of nowhere, like Jose Fernandez, who has the same name as the late pitcher for the Marlins, very famous player over there. Rest in peace to him. But Jose Fernandez for the Diamondbacks, this guy, he was barely a top 30 prospect. You could have formed basically 3 lineups of guys before you would have got to him on the prospect rankings for the Diamondbacks. This guy does nothing but just bat over 300, has multiple home runs in his first game, and has been a consistent batter right now for the Diamondback squad. So we might have some other guys that might be diamonds in the rough, guys that kind of come out of nowhere. I think of what Jeremiah Jackson did last week or last year for the Orioles. He was the guy that didn't have a lot of hype around him. He came up and bat like over 280 for the Orioles. So you just have those types of guys that can be there. But I think among our 3 guys right now, Carter Jensen, Chase DeLauder, and South Stewart, I mean, you got a really stacked lineup. We want to hear from you guys as well in the comments, whether you're watching on the podcast or you're watching live right now. Who is your take? Do you want to say it's one of these 3 guys, or do you have somebody else that you argue?
Absolutely. As we go on over to Risers, I love this pick, Jacob. so much. So I will give you the floor as we go on to segment 2.
There we go. I mean, I'll start it talking about the farm systems, going to the Phillies. I'll go to AAA for Felix Reyes, outfielder, first baseman for the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs, just crushing the ball for the Iron Pigs so far. He has a 10-game hitting streak, 3 home runs, 9 RBIs, a slash line of 311, 328, 526 with an 826 OPS. This is 5th year in the Phillies organization, joined in 2021. He's been a guy in spring training that has gotten opportunities at first in the outfield. Last year, the 2025 Eastern League hitter of the year with the Reading Fightin' Phils, where he batted over 330 before getting promoted late season to AAA. And there's been a lot of discourse in the Phillies circles, especially with some struggles and some platooning with Brandon Marsh in the outfield, if him or Brian De La Cruz is someone that they might want to call up. He's a first base outfield hybrid. So, I mean, this is a guy that I think the bat is there. Question is still the strikeouts. He still has 11 to just 2 walks. Want to see him walking a little bit more. But when he swings, we're talking about guys that bail up the ball and the ball flies off of his bat. He had a great spring, really carrying it over into the first few weeks. So super excited to see what he continues to do. And yeah, as mentioned, an injury or 2 away. We do not wish for that at all. But this is an opportunity for a guy that could get a call if something happens in Philadelphia.
I mean, this is a prime example too, Jacob, of someone who's in his mid-20s. Again, wasn't really on a whole lot of radars before a couple of years ago. Goes out and wins Eastern League MVP, and now he quite literally might just force his way into the Phillies roster. Like, injury or not, if he continues what is now a 10-game win streak, gets that batting average above 300, keeps it there, continues to hit a bomb every 3 or 4 games, we're not going to have much of a choice. Like, especially with some of the early offensive woes, it looks like the Phillies are waking up just in time to play that team from the north side of Chicago, so that's great. I think Felix Reyes added to that outfield only makes that a more violent lineup that already has a lot of bashers. I mean, just talking about the hitters in general, Bryce Harper has jolted awake. Kyle Schwarber, last I checked, has 2 homers this game. We'll see if that continues to happen. There's so many different... Justin Crawford might be competing for the batting title. I know it's early, but he's hitting in the mid-300s. If you had some more pop in left field with Felix Reyes, what is already a World Series contending team gets a lot more dangerous. Obviously, for my own personal reasons, I love this pick too, but he's tearing it up in Lehigh Valley, and from some tape I've seen the last few games, he looks comfortable for a guy who just got tossed out in left field for the first time not too long ago.
Yeah, super excited about that. I'll also throw in another name for risers, going with the top prospect for the Tampa Bay Rays, Theo Gillen, #1 prospect in the Rays system, 70th in the 2026 top 100. It talked so much going back to a Rays farm feature that I know you did, Cory, a few months ago. And the biggest question with these Rays top prospects, with Carson Williams, with a few of their other guys at the top, is they have the skills in the field, they have the speed. Can they hit? A little teaser to our later fair or foul. And Gillian is so far, he is hitting, and he is hitting the cover off the baseball. 330 average, 419 on base percentage, 1308, 1.308 OPS, 4 home runs. He had 5 all of last year in single A, and this is for high A Bowling Green, where he's at right now. So again, just an 8-game sample size, but he has 16 total bases in his last 2 games. The hitting skill is coming around, and could see a promotion up to AA, maybe up to AAA if he continues to swing the bat very well this season. But I mean, this Rays farm, this Rays major league team, they are rising, and their #1 prospect is doing the same.
I think they're sneaky, man. I mean, me and Sedric have talked about it in the past. That division looks wide open through the first 10% of the season. Take the sample size with a grain of salt. But Gillen, if he can develop 1 or 2 more of those tools, which it looks like he's doing in real time right now, look out. I'll get over to my risers real quick, and I'll begin with Max Clark, who, look, I welcome the comments. I love him. I've seen the comments, though, of people in our shorts saying he wears his chain too much. The chain's too bright. He's got too many tattoos. We welcome those opinions. But let's call a spade here. Max Clark's lighting the world on fire in AAA Toledo right now. He did get a lot of flack for his bling in the outfield during spring training and spring breakout. Is the kid too flashy? Is he all bark, no bite? Those naysayers are a lot quieter right now. He's baseball's #8 prospect. He's hitting .352. He's actually in a mini slump. He was hitting .500 through the first handful of games in AAA with the Toledo Mud Hens. He has a little league home run. His OPS is just a touch below 1,000, handful of stolen bags, and he's walked twice as many times as he struck out to this point. This is someone who has refined his game so much from just being a flashy prospect right out of high school. I think he's a lot more polished than people were expecting at this point. A little footnote, Parker Meadows has been moved to the 60-day IL, so that's another layer on top of this entire situation. I believe Clark gets his opportunity by the All-Star break, especially if he continues this tear in the Tigers farm system. Then, boys, that means 2, not 1, but 2 top 10 overall prospects get the call in 2026. Kevin McGonigal, who's going to be reaching graduation status before long, #2 in baseball, just behind Connor Griffin. And the #8 prospect is in the same pipeline, that being Max Clark. So that gets me really excited. And then I go over to Cade Anderson, baseball's #18 ranked prospect, through a couple of starts. He's 1-0. He's pitched 9 innings, no earned runs allowed on 5 hits, 3 walks, 17 strikeouts. Now, that's absurd in its own right for AA Arkansas. Then you remember Seattle has the likes of Brian Wu, George Kirby, Logan Gilbert, just to name a couple in their rotation now, as he is in the Seattle farm system. Then you go a little bit further and go, okay, Anderson's an LSU arm. He was the 3rd overall pick in this past year's draft. This is his professional debut. They started him in AA. Not rookie ball, not the complex, not low A, not high A. 2 steps from the majors, and he hasn't allowed a run in 2 starts, and he's struck out almost 2 hitters per inning. That combination of let's just skip you ahead 3 steps with his performance so far, that feels almost unprecedented. Paul Skeens had to pitch in low A for a little bit. Cade Anderson did not. So that one really, really has me excited. I feel like Max Clark gets a lot more clicks and a lot more buzz. Cade Anderson deserves just as much hype. I almost did not believe my eyes when I saw he skipped that many levels and is performing at the level that he is.
thing I've noticed from being in the Texas League, I'm actually wearing my Rough Riders jersey today.
Yes, sir.
It's a great place to develop pitching, and we see some of the best pitching prospects really, make their hay in Double A before ultimately, going through Triple A, which most of these Double A teams, especially in the Texas League, have Triple A squads that are always in extremely hitter-friendly ballparks. So sometimes the ERA gets inflated, but a lot of that key development really goes down in that Double A time there. So I'm excited to really see what Cade Anderson can do. He would also fit maybe in the pitchers who shove segment as well, which I have another Texas League guy for that. But speaking of the Texas League, we'll stay in it for my riser, Leo DeVries. You all know him. You all love him. He's the top base prospect, MLB's number 4 prospect, and he put on a show, much to my chagrin because he was playing against Frisco, but he did put on a show for the Midland Rockhounds in Double A. In a 6-game series, he got hits in all 6 games, and then he closed out the weekend bringing his best stuff on Saturday and Sunday against the weekend crowd. He had 3 hits on Saturday, 3 hits, 2 home runs on Sunday. It was a great week for Leo DeVries, and even a great week for the A's as a whole, as they went and pulled off a really impressive 5-game winning streak in New York, with winning the last 2 against the Yankees and then a sweep over the Mets. So it was a really good week overall for the top A's prospect, as well as Leo DeVries. And then another guy I'm going to give a shout out to, Ryan Waldschmidt. Right now he's with the Reno Aces. He's the top Diamondbacks prospect. He's one of the guys where if you want to place money on who's going to be one of the next big names to be called up, that's the guy to see it, because he is dominating right now in the Pacific Coast League, batting over 300, 2 home runs, 2 triples, 1,000 OPS. It's been a good year for Ryan Waldschmidt. And then lastly, I will give a shout out on the softball side of things. We don't usually talk a ton about softball. Oklahoma established themselves again as the top dogs in softball. They moved down in the rankings a little bit after a loss to LSU and a couple other losses in SEC play, but they really got back on the throne with a series win against their rivals Texas, and they are highlighted by Kendall Wells, a freshman. She has 31 home runs in 44 games. That is a freshman record for an individual season, and there are still games left for Kendall Wells. That deserves a shout out.
That's incredible. I mean, I was looking at that too. You mentioned it. I was, doing some more. They have 8 players batting over 400. I'm like, what is they don't get talked enough about enough when we look at kind of sports dynasties and specific sport. Like you talk about UConn with basketball and Ohio State and Alabama, what they do in football, but Oklahoma, the dynasty and really chokehold that they've had over college softball for really the better part of a decade is just absurd.
I mean, that pacing is unbelievable. Jacob just touched on it too. The lineup's well-rounded. LSU for baseball. You can go on and on. They have not given up the top spot, and if anything, I feel like dropping down the rankings a little bit, it's only going to be fuel to the fire and bad news for the rest of the college softball community. Only time will tell. The last thing you want to do is motivate a squad that's been as great as them. We're going to mix in some more softball for sure as well. That's a great touch, Sedric. I know Johnny Samp, one of our 6 teammates here in the Minor League Minute team, he had interviewed a couple of players from the Northwoods League softball team a couple of years ago now in their inaugural season. Those are remarkable athletes, and 31 home runs in 44 games is simply absurd. So shout out to Kendall Wells and the rest of that Oklahoma Sooners softball team that has really made a name for themselves. You know who else is making a name for themselves, and we're trying to help them along with it, although they're already pretty established. JustBats.com, we're a huge fan of their team over there, and you should be as well. If you want to customize any equipment that you have, I know the season's either getting started or it already has. If it has, it's not too late to go and get a new bat. We're going to make this super easy for you, okay? JustBats.com, we have their link in our description. Whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or YouTube, they've got the custom engravings. They've got the custom knob stickers. You want your number on there? Great. You want your name, your initials on there? Awesome. You want a certain wrap that's inspired in a customizable way? Great. Engravings, your name on there. That's a way to own your product. And JustBats.com, they're full of people who love baseball and softball, just like you and I do. So make sure you go to that link in our description below if you would like to take advantage of any deals they have going on their wonderful website right now and just get that customizable, one-of-a-kind experience. We go on to Fallers. I'm sad to report this one because I was all over him going into this season. I'm going to start with Cruz Schoolcraft. Baseball's number 81 prospect, one of the brightest talents, and I still believe that in the Padres system. He is 6'8", 230 pounds. So right away, you think Noah Schultz, Jacob Mizorowski, these long, slinky guys who can generate a ton of power and can rifle the ball across the plate in the high 90s, sometimes triple digits. That's Cruz Schoolcraft, but he's having a start that I think he'd soon like to forget. In his first start of the season for High Lake Elsinore, or Single A Lake Elsinore, he allowed 6 earned runs on 4 hits and got yanked after just 1 inning. He goes back to it this past Friday, the 10th, and recorded just 1 out while allowing 3 earned runs on a pair of hits. He has now walked 6 hitters in an inning and a third. And what do we know about tall guys, right? Above average extension. They release the ball closer to home plate. So 95 really might look like 98, 99, 100, depending on how tall you are. Again, guys like Jacob Mizorowski, Noah Schultz, and Cruz Schoolcraft have that advantage. But what else do we know about him? Sometimes it's a little tougher to repeat that motion. It's not as compact as I'm 5'8". I am not nearly as talented or even in the same zip code as Cruz Schoolcraft, but pitchers that are, 6'1", 6'3", more compact, their body, their arms stay closer to their body. So all of a sudden, the repeatable motion, it's a little easier to replicate that 90, 95, 100 times. When you have these long limbs, it's not as easy to establish that repeatable motion, and I think that's what Schoolcraft is going through right now, thus the 6 walks in an inning and a third. Now with that, if you're able to generate all that speed and release the ball closer to the plate, you're tougher to hit. The ball breaks a little later. You have less time to react as a hitter, but you have to be able to control it and pitch competitive plate appearances first. He has not commanded those yet. That will be coming, I'm sure. But admittedly, a rough start to the year for Cruz Schoolcraft, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I say that happens, and I think if you go through almost every elite pitcher throughout some point in their career or in some point in their training, they had a bad outing in minor league baseball. It just is a part of your career. It's a part of the ups and downs. And I think a lot of teams will use that to test what your mentals are made of. Can you go through a bad start and then be able to bounce back later in the year? Can you work through a mental slump and get back into the mix? And the reason I say that, because I did watch another pitcher where the Orioles, one of their top pitching prospects, Esteban Mejia, he's in Delmarva. He did not complete 1 inning either in his last outing. It was just command wasn't there, wasn't really good communication with the battery. There were some players that were walked, not holding runners on. But again, this is low A. This is a great chance to be able to grow, chance to learn. And I imagine with some more time, Schoolcraft is going to really get into his groove before you know it. But yeah, a little bit tougher to not start off with like a hot start, but there's still plenty of time to work in. California generally is pretty warm, especially Lake Elsinore, so you don't expect it to be cold, but depending maybe on some of the locations they had to play at in that league, there may be potential for some colder games if they're like up a higher elevation. But overall, I think that with time, he'll be able to really even things out, but definitely deserves to be on the fallers for now.
Yeah, same for me. Just another name is Andrew Painter. As we talked about the Phillies system a little bit. He's another guy that he stands, tall at that 6'6", 6'7". The thing last year, it was a whole season for him. So I think that. What's the train of thought here? Oh yeah, tall pitchers here trying to figure it out and go through it. But I mean, Painter, it was the full season last year in AAA where he really battled himself with those walks. So I guess the message is it may be more than a start. It may be something that it's the entire season. It's a work in progress. It's something that he's going to have to figure out, have to work with his mechanics and work with his coaches on, okay, hey, where can I, get to that release point? Is there a different pitch that can utilize that? Is there a different position on the mound that can best get the best out of the length and the arm extension for the pitcher?
Absolutely. Oh boy, who's got the Pirates here? The Pirates farm system, at least. This is, well, I'll give you the floor here. I'm with the Fightin' Phils, as some of you know, and we are in the same league as the Altoona Curve, so I know a little of what's going on here, but I'll let you set the stage.
Yeah, so the faller for me is everyone not named the Greensboro Hops and the Pittsburgh Pirates in the Pittsburgh system. So the Hops, they are the high A affiliate of the Pittsburgh Pirates in Greensboro, North Carolina. Just take a look at the records. We'll take a look at the records first, guys. The Hops and the Pirates, their combined record is 16-8. Looking good, looking good.
Yeah, not
And
bad, grasshoppers.
yeah, not bad. Then you take a look at their AAA affiliate, the Indianapolis Indians, who had Connor Griffin for that short stint to start the season. The Bradenton Marauders, the single A affiliate, and the Altoona Curve, who Cory name dropped, the single A, the double A, and the triple A affiliates, combined record of 6-27. And that includes the Curve, who are 0-9 and have not won a single game yet. To further look into those, we're going to continue the stats here. Let's take a look at the run differential, guys. Maybe it could tell a different story here. It does not. Spoiler alert. Pirates and their high A affiliate, the Hops, outscoring teams plus 29. There we go. Outscoring teams leading to wins. The other three, negative 64 run differential when you add it all together. Not a good sign. So maybe everyone is feeling the effects of Connor Griffin leaving the minor league system. That's what I'll chalk it up to. That's my opinion. Connor Griffin is in the majors. Everyone's feeling the effects of Griffin being in the pro show.
Yeah, I think some of the opponents might have something to do with that as well. If we look at the Indians, one of the teams they had to play were the Clippers, who were on an especially hot streak at that point in the season. So that also played a factor. And then they lost Connor Griffin like middle of the series as well, which was a massive part of their offense and probably a part of what their plans were. And then kind of looking at the other levels, yeah, Marauders off to a slow start, but the Curve, when you said they were winless, I was shocked to hear that, which, I mean, for perspective, these are 6-game series that teams are playing. So it feels like it's a lot more challenging for teams to get swept. It happens. It's just not extremely common in which there are 6-game series sweeps. But for that to happen so early on, it's a tough look for the Curve. But shout out to the Greensboro Grasshopper. I'm glad to see that they, are holding down the fort then, as well as Pittsburgh Pirates. Speaking of teams that are on losing streaks, though, I'll carry this over. We'll give one snide remark to the New York franchises. Mets and Yankees really had a rough week, much to the joy of a lot of other fans in Major League Baseball. But I'm sure everybody out in New York City, whether you're a Mets fan or a Yankees fan, both sides of the Subway Series can be feeling pretty bad after going 0-5 or losing their last 5 games each of this past weekend into the late part of the last weekdays. And then also, getting swept by the A's, where the Athletics came in and got big wins over the Mets, and then also 2 wins over the Yankees. So again, that's not a good look there for New York. And then also give another faller to Jackson Holiday, just given where he was. If we took this conversation and had it, a couple years back, we would have been like, Jackson Holiday is the next guy coming up. He's going to be like, there's going to be no issue. It's going to be some good energy coming in. And things have just really not clicked. Outside of his second call-up run immediately after starting with the grand slam against the Blue Jays for his first major league home run, he had a little hot streak there. But since then, it's really been a lot of injuries. It's been a lot of inconsistency. And right now, Holiday, who started off the year in AAA as a rehabber, he still has not finished that rehab session. He has just not looked right. He's batting 167 right now, still getting generally everyday starts with the Norfolk Tides, but has not really been able to settle in. And that's really not a good sign for him. And then also, to make things worse for Jackson, is that right now the platoon of Blaze Alexander and Jeremiah Jackson in Baltimore have done pretty good to this point. Right now, Blaze Alexander's been one of the better hitters with runners in scoring position for the Orioles. And Jeremiah Jackson just had a big weekend, going 5 for 12 this past weekend, playing a really reliable second base as well, too. And he's batting over 270 this season. So right now, it feels like the Orioles don't really have much intention right now to get him up before he needs to. But right now for Holiday, he really needs to find his swing again down in Norfolk. And maybe still the injuries that might be bothering him as well. But just based off of the momentum and the energy, I mean, he was talked about just like the way we talked about Connor Griffin and how the way we talk about him now. And then you fast forward a little bit, and it just seems like kind of all that momentum is gone.
I think you hit the nail on the head there, Sedric, and just the inconsistent route that Jackson Holliday has taken. I mean, he was the number 1 overall pick. He was the number 1 prospect in baseball among a pantheon of really, really good names that have made their major league debuts and excelled. Something you know about these athletes, and I've started to see it. We just wrapped up our first homestand here in Reading, Pennsylvania with Fightin' Phils. All of these athletes are regimented. They have their schedules. They have their routines. Throw one little thing off, and you start to imagine what could happen. Let's revisit what Jackson Holliday's last couple of years have looked like. He lit the world on fire in AAA Norfolk the first time he went in, went up to the major leagues, struggled. The Orioles sent him back down, lit the world on fire again, came back up. Then came the injuries. Now he's not on a diamond at all. You have to go through rehab. Now he's back in Norfolk where he started this entire journey. He hasn't been in the same place for a full year in quite some time. So I think with Jackson Holliday, the main key is going to be, can we get a full, healthy season in Major League Baseball? We've seen the talent in stretches. We've seen the pop. We've seen the poise. We've seen the clutch hitting. He's got a couple of grand slams in his career already. It's just a matter of, can this guy go out there and play 145, 150 games healthy at the major league level and get into that routine that so many of these guys have been fixated on, and rightfully so, for all of their careers. It's what got them here. It's what got him to this level. Jacob, for the curve, I want to give a little extra context. I feel bad for them because the last couple of games, I believe they lost in extras the other night. They lost by 1 run a different night. They played the Richmond Flying Squirrels. So they are in the Giants pipeline. They have Marco Luciano hitting over 400 there right now, who made his debut in the major leagues not long ago. He's back getting some work in at the AA level. Home field advantage. We always talk about it, right? Richmond just went into a new stadium. So they sold that thing out, I believe, more times than not, if not very close to it. And Altoona, already having a rough start to the year, 0-3 at that point, had to go into someone else's stadium. Richmond's 8-1, playing very high-level baseball, and they just about sold out the stadium and had some of their best showings that they'll probably have all year because of the hype of the team playing well, because of the hype of guys like Luciano, and because of the hype of a new venue. And Altoona just got dropped in there for a full week. So it's tough, man. I feel bad. They were close results for the most part down the stretch. But just an extra thing to consider, all of the pent-up anticipation of having a new stadium. Everyone's riding the backs of these Flying Squirrels. And Altoona, you feel bad for the entire pipeline in terms of not having Connor Griffin because he just made his way through there so quickly. Indianapolis, poor AAA team, got to see the shortest amount of time of Connor Griffin, and he got yanked mid-series against a really good Clippers team, as Sedric mentioned. But the Flying Squirrels, by the way, if you look it up, their ballpark is sick. It looks like a AAA venue. So a shout out to Richmond, but my condolences to the Curve. W number 1 will come. It will. It will be here soon, hopefully.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Yeah, very early. Very early. But yeah, wanted to mention too, Jackson Holliday, just thought of it too. Jordan Walker was seeing with the Cardinals, the kind of other side of things of it was back and forth to the Cardinals, sent him down, came back up. There was an injury involved. And right now he's one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball from a power department. That Cardinals lineup looks better with him in it. So yeah, I wouldn't, faller for now for Holliday, but he could come up and again, have that stretch and really get dialed in like we've seen Jordan Walker, who, yeah, I was down at the beginning of this season. It was Joshua Baez. You can go to the short on our channel. I'm like, Joshua Baez, look out if Jordan Walker struggles, and Jordan Walker is batting over 300, leading the league in home runs.
Yeah, I guess since we're doing accountability hour, you can go back and watch my long form on Brandon Sproat, who has a 10+ ERA right now, calling him the future ace. Still believe he has the stuff. We were talking about this before. But again, long season. I think that's the key with a lot of this. Long season. By the time we're in the middle of July, or you hit these different watermarks of the season, like Memorial Day, 4th of July, the 1st of August, we're down the home stretch. We revisit these conversations and kind of give it what I like to call I didn't invent it, I've heard it before, the baseball card test. What do the full season numbers look like by the end of this? Not what someone did through the first 10, 15, 20, 30 games. What do they look like when they've played at least half a season? And you can go back and look at what their body of work was. I think that is the key here. With that being said, the small sample size is all we have to work with, so it's a fun part of the season to talk about who is shoving, who is having absurd performances early on. I go back to the well here in the Phillies pipeline. Gage Wood just entered MLB.com's top 100 prospects list a couple of days ago, and he should be in that company. Had a start for Single-A Clearwater, the Threshers, where he tossed 3 1/3 innings and struck out 8. So he recorded 10 outs, and 8 of them were via the punch-out. 70-grade fastball, it's as advertised. Now he has 20 strikeouts over 9 1/3 innings pitched in his minor league baseball career. He breaks into the top 100 prospects list with 3 of his fellow Phillies, Andrew Painter, Aiden Miller, Justin Crawford. The first and third in that list will be reaching graduation status relatively soon. Miller working back from a back injury. This guy is unbelievable, and selfishly, I hope he rides up the pipeline as quickly as possible and then makes a stop at Double-A for a little bit. I would love to see that firsthand.
It's happening. I already know it's going to happen.
I
All
hope
he needs
so,
to do is
man.
get the high A. If he gets the high A, it's a cup of coffee and Double-A. I'm certain he will get a cup of coffee and Double-A if he can just get the high A.
Mm-hmm.
So many teams you see will do that, and they send their guys up even for the last 2 weeks. Just hope if you have your last series at home, or at least one of your last 2, you should be in good shape.
Yeah, I'm even going to go as far as to say now Cory and Jake Starr for the Reading Fighting Phils, folks. They do a fighting of the game when they win. I'm going to predict Gage Wood is going to be one of those guys they talk to in a Fighting Phils win. I'm going to go as far as to say there will be an interview of Gage Wood that you will see on your social channels. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he's going to, I love this pick. The fastball has been great. Fastball has excellent shape riding through the zone in that mid to high 90s. The breaking stuff is really the biggest swing for him. That curveball just drops off the table. It's looking great. Change up, slider. I think this guy's going to be a fast riser guy. I know there's bias, but he's a fast riser. I'm feeling that, just maybe not Kate Anderson level rising where he's starting at Double-A. I think we're going to see a few level jump from Wood by season's end.
I think so too, and yeah, there's definitely some bias in that hope, but I would love to see him. They're ramping him up. You're seeing the innings, the pitch count start to rise, and I think with that, you'll see him crawl his way up the Phillies system. But yeah, one of 4 top 100 prospects in MLB.com. That number's going to drop as those 2 graduate, in Painter and Crawford, but then that's 2 more spots that Mr. Wood can go up, and I would not be shocked if he's top 50, top 30 by the end of the season if he elevates as quickly as we think he will.
Sure. Yeah, I'll keep it in the NL East. Go with another arm that I've also mentioned as a riser on this very show about a month ago when we were in spring training. I'm going to go with J.R. Ritchie for the Atlanta Braves, shoving in Triple-A. Him and Didier Fuentes were going to, back and forth. Who was going to make the Atlanta Braves? Fuentes got the call. He got a few appearances, a little cup of coffee in the big leagues before getting back down to Triple-A. But Ritchie, 83rd in the top 100, 4 starts for Triple-A Gwinnett. He's 3-1 with a minuscule 1.72 ERA across 4 starts. You talk about the strikeouts, 20 strikeouts in 21 1/3 innings pitched, 10 earned runs. Walks are concerned. He has 3 in each of his first 4 appearances, but this is a guy that really impressed with his control. He's limiting the extra base hits, limiting the home runs. And, you look at this Braves team off to a great start. They have Sale, who's been healthy to start the season. Bryce Elder, Ronaldo Lopez is back from injury. They also have Grant Holmes, Ronaldo Lopez when he's not swinging hands at Jorge Soler after a high pitching in. But I mean, there's a little back and forth. Jose Suarez is right there in that quote number 5 spot in the rotation. They kind of used him as like a back end reliever. Schwellenbach, Waldrip still on the IL. Strider is still on the IL. I'd give him the call, fellas, and let him kind of sit in that 5 spot in the rotation behind those 4 guys as mentioned. You get him some reps, you get him some opportunities at the big league level while you're rehabbing. You can give those guys time because you have this guy who's a top 100 prospect who is showcasing himself at the AAA level. At some point, you got to give him the promotion. You got to reward him for his type of performance to start.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, Jacob. And this is the most exciting series right now. This would be the best series coming up in AAA, in my opinion. You've got a battle between the Gwinnett Stripers, who are also at double-digit wins. I believe they are 10-5. Yeah, 10-5, I believe sounds right. And right now they are getting ready to head off to Memphis to take on the 11-4 Memphis Redbirds. So battle between the Brave system and the Cardinals system, and two of the best teams in minor league baseball. So I'm really excited to see how Richie matches up against the Redbirds offense, a team that's really swinging a hot bat. They got guys like Blaze Jordan over there, Jeff Baez. Like, they have a really stacked group over there in the Redbirds. So I'm excited to see how Richie holds up against that group. It'll be a big test for him. But if he shines and puts together a quality start against that type of lineup, it would just be more reasons for him to get that call up. Speaking of guys that got challenged this week, David Davalillo is my pick. He's the number 7 Texas Rangers prospect. I saw him last year in Frisco, right after he got called up from Spartanburg in High A. And he has been really solid to start off the year so far. He has pitched at least 5 innings in his first 2 starts, which, if you look at starters, usually around minor league baseball, you don't see a lot of guys going, 5, 6, 7 innings, especially in those first starts as they build themselves up. But hey, it speaks to their efficiency throughout the whole time as well. Speaking of not 6, but 7, we had a lot of strikeouts. 7 strikeouts in each of the first 2 games for David Davalillo. 7 Ks against Corpus Christi, 7 Ks against Leo DeVries in the Midland Rockhounds as well, too. Speaking of DeVries, that's one of the only runs that he's given up. He's only given up 2 runs this whole year. One of them was a solo shot because of Leo DeVries, but you really can't blame any pitcher for that. But the main thing that really impresses me about David Davalillo is that splitter. His splitter, last year, opposing hitters bat .077 off of that splitter. It is a nasty offering, and he pairs that up with some other pitches. I remember when I was in Frisco, they were actually, implementing the cutter into his system. We went over to talk with some of the pitching coaches. They were talking about that was a pitch that he was adding, but really that splitter, which has a 65 grade on the MLB prospect rankings, it's so impressive for David. And he's a guy that I think is really underrated. I don't think gets a ton of shine, but he's a guy that when he works his way up the Ranger system, you'll see he's kind of that under the radar, really good pitcher, and that splitter is going to play well at all levels. It's going to play very well in the majors.
And the length of starts, the first thing you said, Sedric, that's a great point because there's a variety of factors at play early on in the season. It's colder in most of the country as you get further south, obviously. Sometimes they don't have all 4 seasons. But also these guys just, again, back to the routine-oriented beings that professional baseball players are. They're not throwing 90, 95, 100 pitches right now. Some of them have that number, that arbitrary number of, I'm going 65 today, I'm going 70 pitches, I'm going 75. He's just straight up efficient. He has the ability to warm that arm up early on in the season. And Jacob, great call with Richie. That's absurd. At this point in AAA, they have the largest sample size of anybody. They start before AA, and then AA, high A, and single A pretty much all start around the same time. So AAA gets that lead out in front. We can't really make the sample size argument anymore when we talk about someone's earned run average being below 2. He's gone over 20 innings pitched. Now all of a sudden we start to look at those weekly awards, those monthly awards, those Cy Youngs for certain portions of the minors, guys who could be breaking into the major league system. Really excited as well to see that AAA matchup here. I've been watching the Stripers relatively close. The Redbirds doing extremely well early on. So great picks by both of you. That's going to be our first edition of Pitchers Who Shove. Just noticed a lot of those starting to pop up here, and that's scary because some of these guys are not going 6, 7, 8 innings to this point. I did it again. As we go to segment number 5, fair or foul. This is an intriguing argument, and one, candidly, we just brought up earlier today as we were kind of fledging out our final segment. Chandler Simpson is, I guess as expected, lighting the world on fire, but to an extent that some of us are still trying really hard to fathom. Chandler Simpson could be someone who flirts with single season records. He had over 100 stolen bags in a minor league season not too long ago. Are fair or foul today? And we'd love to hear you in the comment section below or on any of our social media channels that are linked below too. Can you be a one-tool player and thrive in 2026? Jacob, I'll skip it over to you first.
Yeah, I think it's such a great question. Again, kind of looking at Simpson, especially last season, got over 100, games played with the Rays, but it was, a little murky. It was some days he would start, some days he would pitch run, but this year really hitting the ground running with the bat, with the extra base hits. It's a tough question. I think it's and we're like almost like fair or foul. Would you rather here with these technicalities, throwing one in there. One tool to get to the bigs, I think it is fair. And I am going to stand on the hill that it is fair, kind of looking at Simpson and looking at kind of a track record based on development and also looking at what teams are looking for in players, especially winning teams. Like we talk about the Dodgers with a lot of these top prospects. We look at, the Royals with Carter Jensen, with the other talent that they have, with their aspirations of a division crown. McGonigal with the Tigers. I think one of the things, it's the battle of you have the jack of all trades, master of none. You have a guy that has a very experienced skill set. Just mention a few names of guys that over the past few years have been touted as jack of all trade guys that haven't exactly broken through the way we expected. Jordan Lawler, one with the D-backs, who had an all-around skill in minor league baseball. Infielder, the Diamondbacks kind of transitioning into outfield, just still hasn't really panned out at the major league level, having that really fallback skill, as I'll like to kind of put it, for a guy to, maybe not get too comfortable necessarily, but like, I have an excellent hit tool. I know what I can bring with the bat. Or I know with Simpson's case, when I get on first base, no one is picking me off. No one has a chance. That kind of skill set that, again, brews confidence, I think, in the player. Dylan Cruz, another example with the Nationals, still waiting to put it together as the number 2 overall pick behind Paul Skeens with the Nationals, where it's, so many skills as this young player. He can swing the bat well, has that power, has that speed, the defense. So waiting to come it together. Talk about Jacob Mizorowski, that fastball. That was kind of his skill that took everyone by storm. He's striking. He's got 102 in the bag, and then he throws that slider. And then he builds on those skills in the major league level. So for me, I'm going to stand on the side that it is fair to get there. And then once you get there, you can allow yourself to build on those skills. I think, another conversation is, bringing guys back, bring guys up and down. Okay, hey, we want to send you down to work on this skill. Well, let it work on it in the majors. Experiment. If your team's in that situation, let them work on it. Let him, if you have that luxury where he can, okay, start here. Let's work on this, through the season. The best practice is in the bigs because that's the highest level. You don't get any higher than the bigs, fellas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
On to you, Sedric.
Jacob, I think this is really well said. I think it's going to be fair. I also agree with you as well, Jacob. But I think the thing is there are a finite amount of the niches that can be taken. So if you happen to be a guy with really good speed and that's like your main thing, the main niche, not only do you have to be darn good at that skill, but you also need to be on a team in which that skill is extremely valued. Do you have a team in which, if you have a bunch of power guys, we need somebody who's going to be fast at either the 9 spot or the 8 spot in the lineup or even in the top of the lineup just to get on base, and then that can set things up for some of our power bats that we have? Or is it something where you have that hit tool and that's just exactly what the lineup needs, where we have guys that can hit for contact, but we need some guy that can really, hit for power? There's just different types of things and different types of niches that people can have, but it is very team dependent. It's very similar to like if you're working and looking for a job and you're sitting in a certain market. If your market happens to be saturated with people that are really good at that same skill that you are, that skill might not be able to shine as much as if you might be in a different pool where there's a lot of people that have a variety of skill sets, but they're mostly different from yours and yours is a little bit rarer. It's going to be valued a little bit higher. The same thing I believe happens with baseball teams where, you know, you look at the strengths and weaknesses of the team. Ideally, every baseball team wants to have all 5 tool players across the board. I bet if they really could make it up, they'd have all Otanis that can also pitch as well too, on top of that. But that's just not how it's going to work. But, well, unless you're maybe Oklahoma softball, they probably have that. But than that,
Right.
most teams are not going to have that. But it's just that sort of dynamic where, yes, you can have niches, but you almost have to have the right fit to be able to have that niche be able to shine and be justified to have in that lineup. So I think that's certainly something to consider in one aspect of it. But I think it is fair. At least it gives you a path to be able to make the majors. Having something where, you know, people can sit in an office and be like, okay, what does this person do well? He's got this at an extremely high level. That's one of the highest in the entire organization. That's something that can be valued to put on a 40-man roster when push comes to shove on their decision on who makes the 40-man.
Absolutely. I think it's a great analogy too, right? Like you look at a team like the Brewers, for example, they know how to steal. They've always had speedy guys. They brought another one in Jet Williams in a recent trade coming into this season. That's their style of play, but they always seem to be craving a power bat. If you're a power bat, and in their case, relatively affordable, that is a perfect fit if that's your prominent tool. I'm going to lean the other way here and say it's foul, not by much, but like, let's say the ball went over the foul pole. We had to take it to New York, take a look at it. It was just barely over there. Just a little bit, right? I think it's a very close argument, but to thrive in the big leagues, once you get there, I think you need at least one other skill to complement it. Now, you can have a head honcho skill out of those 5 tools. Chandler Simpson is known for his speed. I would argue his hit tool is really good too, though. You still have to be able to put the ball in the right spot to leg it out. Now, with someone like him, you could put the ball in a lot more spots than most people and be able to leg it out. But whether you're doing like a swinging drag bunt almost, or you're trying to deposit a ball into the outfield, or regardless of where you are in the lineup, there's always those situations where you need to be able to be at least a decent hitter to, let's say, run around third with 1 out, elevate the ball, or hit a ball through the infield with enough power, or drag a ball down and be able to lay down a bunt. So I make the argument because I believe that guys who can't hit don't get a spot in a lineup unless you're a catcher who is really good at framing, can throw guys out. I think of, for example, someone who's struggling with his hit tool, Blake Mitchell, who is just a commander back there behind the plate. If you have only power, now we start to get into that argument a little bit because we've seen guys like Joey Gallo get away with it. That was, and this is no insult to him, that was his tool. That was his only above average tool. Was we know he's going to give us thump in the lineup. We know he's going to challenge opposing pitchers in that capacity. But, you know, speed. I do believe it has its place, but I think the best tool to pair it with is the hit tool. I think of someone like Tony Campana, whose only tool truly was speed. He was on the Cubs and a couple of other teams. That's why he wasn't in the lineup every day, and that's why he wasn't thriving. He was a pinch runner. He made his bread and butter that way. But if you want to play 145, 150 games, you also have to have those other metrics like a decent batting average, like good plate discipline as well, like a little bit of power once in a while. Or you have to be able to field on the other end to justify the fact that you're fast, but you're not exactly an amazing hitter, but we know you can cover a lot of ground out there in center field, for example. So, you know, similar vein to you guys, I think you can have a tool that you are best at and better than anyone at, and it can help when your other tools aren't as good. But I think you need at least one other one just to complement it. And I guess I'll make the argument that Chandler Simpson has wicked speed, but that hit tool's come a long way. That's why he's kind of hovered around that 300 batting average for now.
Right. And he's not striking out either, which is also a big factor. And it's opening up the door for more guys with his play style to be able to thrive. And I'll say that as a last point. Anytime you have someone who progresses based off of maybe just one tool that really gets them that shine and that notoriety, and then they add those other ones, it opens up the door for anybody else that might have a similar type of play style to try to replicate and can utilize that example to be like, hey, look at what this guy did. He built a pretty strong career this way. Here's a niche I can bring to your team.
Yeah, we've talked about Enrique Bradfield Jr. on this channel before, right? Yes. An interview that you had not too long ago, Jacob. Like, Chandler Simpson can be that example for him. Hey, I might be struggling with hitting right now, but I have this game-wrecking speed that Chandler Simpson used to get himself in the bigs.
Yeah, for sure. And I think too, it's and you don't want to get guys into a mindset though in that same vein where it's like, oh, you have this one guy, you need to that narrow minded. You want to kind of fill out that balance, especially because it's like, oh, everyone now wants to be Connor Griffin. They want to be great at everything. They want to have this ascension where they hit with power, hit with speed, have that speed, have the defense and play multiple positions. But like you said, if there's that defined skill, build on that strength, keep it the strength, and kind of build around as you progress. Not everyone needs to be at 60 grade tools all the way across the board to then graduate to the bigs. I think that's also a little misnomer for some people looking at, okay, who do we call up next? Because every rookie gets called up and bats 300. No, wait a second. Let's see here. Like you said, Sedric, that niche and the skill sets for each of these organizations, these guys that are calling up, they're fitting the culture, whether it's Weatherholt with the Cardinals, McGonigal with the gritty Tigs here, with the hits and the defense all over the field. Like his versatility fits so well with that team, and that's why they're comfortable making these calls so early.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, right? And you have these guys who have all those resources now. Like Chandler Simpson's not skipping a heavy lifting day because, oh, I'm the speed guy, right? He actually snuck a ball out of the yard in spring training for his his first professional out of the park home run, which is just absurd, but it's a testament to what he does, right? Everyone at the end of the day is doing, for the most part, their same workouts, so they're becoming that well-rounded individual. You brought it up, right, Jacob, that not everyone has to be Connor Griffin, but when you do get to the big stage, what keeps you around is being multifaceted in some capacity, because there's going to be games where, I'll take a Cubs guy, right? Michael Busch, for example, having a really tough start to the year. He's hitting well below the Mendoza line, but his walk rate is well above league average. So all of a sudden, the OBP at least bolsters up a little bit to the point where you can justify keeping him in there. Or the glove for someone's really good when they're in an 0 for 9 cold snap. I think there's always a place for people who are willing to build on other tools, even when they have that main one. But great episode, guys. I felt like that was really strong across the board. We hit a lot of buzzwords and a lot of these big names, but everybody's playing now. They have been for a little bit, but really excited to get our way into the back end of April here.
So this was a great show. I think we really covered a lot. And again, we're just picking up steam. It's still early on in the season, but I just think we're already cooking with grease with all the different stuff we have to talk about. And congratulations to you, Cory, by the way, your first homestand in minor league baseball broadcasting.
Oh, thank you, man.
Woo, way to go.
I appreciate you guys a ton. It's nice. We've been talking from such a far proximity. We're all like within a couple of hours of each other now, which is really cool. So it's cool to be in your neck of the woods. It was an amazing homestand. For those who care, the Fightin' Phils are 4-5, but they won 4 of their last 5, so watch out. We've got a lot of top 30 guys there. Really fun group. This was a really fun episode. Episode 20 is up next. This is our baby. I cannot believe that because it feels like we just started this. But if you've started with us from episode 1 or you just picked up this week, we thank you so much. Leave a like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on our various social media channels. Also, thank you to Michael Stensland in our live chat. He dropped a $2 donation. Not required, but if you're going to do that, thank you very much. That goes right back into resources to help us in terms of, getting our guys paid, but also improving the equipment at some point and improving your viewing and listening experience on top of that. That's going to do it for another edition of Minor League Weekly. We will catch you on the flip side next Monday. Every story starts somewhere, and in baseball, that somewhere is the minors. The breakout stars,
Early on in day 3 of the draft, the Pirates called.
the wild moments, and the prospects you need to know about.
A sub-3 ERA in both single and double A.
This is Minor League Weekly, your inside look at the future of the game.